Hello world, and welcome again to another episode of Dave Trippin'. And to go to a slightly less somber note, like I was discussing in my last video, I thought I'd talk about something cool, some culture shock that you experience when you come to Japan. And one of the most profound and distinct, I think, to the Japanese culture specifically. And this is, like the title suggests, the hive mentality. The collective consciousness, thinking of yourself not so much as an individual, but as a member of a group, as a whole group. And I want to discuss how this is basically an amazing thing and a horrible thing. Just like if you were in Canada, you have the Western world, you have the exact opposite of this, and it has its pros and cons as well. And so I thought I'd tell a couple of stories specifically about when I've seen this kind of behavior in Japan and when I was really impressed by it, and then I'll discuss the negatives. So one particularly, when I saw this sort of hive mentality, was when I go snowboarding in Canada. Of course, you have all of your stuff underneath the bus. It's raining, I don't know if you'll be able to tell. You have all your stuff underneath the bus when you're going up to the mountain, and when you get up to the top of the mountain, whether it's one guy who's driving the bus or the guy and his assistant, it's basically that guy and his assistant who would then empty the bus and people would pull their equipment away. But I've seen both on snowboard trips and when going to the airport, as soon as you empty the bus with a group of Japanese people, they all assist. As soon as those doors open on the bottom below, I was kind of taken aback. Not that I don't want to help, just that I'm not used to that kind of collective behavior, that you wouldn't leave this for one man, even if it is his job, you would help because you're all one, you would all assist each other. And so I thought that was really, really cool, noticing that. Another example of this I found was when, again, it's something about bus drivers. When I've been in Canada, bus drivers in Vancouver, I think, depending on the route that you have, actually don't do too bad. People in Vancouver are pretty polite and say thank you and stuff like that. But when I think of school buses, not so much. When I think of my behavior on a school bus when I was younger, I really feel bad for the bus drivers at that time. There was not a lot of respect for them. And each time in Japan, when I've gone on a school ride bus, when all of the kids get out of the bus at the end of the ride, they all line up next to the bus and do a big bow to the bus driver and a big thank you for driving us wherever it is that he drove us to. And that kind of extra awareness for the efforts of someone else is really, really impressive. I thought that was really, really cool. One more example, because I don't want this to be a huge video. One more example is when I was at any of the school sports festivals, which occur at the beginning of September. When you finish the sports festival, you've obviously set up the field, there's a lot of equipment, there's all this stuff that needs to come down. Any able-bodied parent, I would say nearly 100%, as soon as the festivities are concluded, not just the Parent Teachers Association, every single parent that came to this event will assist in cleaning up and taking down all the equipment at the event. And I think it's amazing. Again, this awareness of each other, this desire to help each other, to see yourself as a part of a whole, is really, really good. And good Lord, are they efficient? Like, you'll see this entire setup, which takes hours and hours and hours to go up because it's the school itself that sets it up, go down in a matter of minutes because everyone who's arrived to watch is contributing to taking it down. Just really, really cool. Now, what's the flip side of this? That's like, oh, that sounds fantastic. It is no exaggeration that the Japanese people are encouraged to do away with much of their individuality. It doesn't mean that they all do, and you will find fiercely independent Japanese people, but there is a nearly oppressive culture of collectivism here. That when you look at some of this is kind of a simple example, but if you look at the bikes they use, maybe 1 in every 300 bikes is different. They all use the accepted, predetermined bike very kind of communist in a way, but not for that, well, I guess for kind of that similar reason. And it doesn't allow them or makes them feel uncomfortable if they want to explore something that isn't necessarily part of the norm. It makes them a kind of outcast. It represses them so much that they actually you'll never meet a more two-faced people than the Japanese. And that might sound harsher than it actually is, but it's just a coping mechanism that they have for having to be so polite, to have to be so aware all the time, that it's very difficult for Japanese people to show you exactly how it is that they're feeling. I think, although you could argue this is for different historical reasons, but it goes right down to the fact that no one introduces themselves with their first name. You only introduce with your family name, and that's tied into a couple things, but you can see there's sort of this interlacing of this theme, that there's a privateness to the last little piece of yourself that you get a hold on to as an individual that you don't share outwardly. And that's what happens. You end up with these kind of repressed, frustrated people who don't feel that they can express themselves exactly how they want to. Now, in a population of millions, like I said, you're going to find that there is variation to this theme. You are going to find exceptions to it. Of course you would. And the Japanese people are all the more exceptional to break out from this norm when it is so oppressive around them. And it is a double-bladed sword. It comes with the good and the bad, but is an example again of where any extreme will result in a sort of fanatic, strange behavior and bring out the worst in people in some way or another. Just like in the West, which I'll amend this to be quite small, how we are hyper-individualistic, which is amazing for finding yourself and having your own values and believing in your own capabilities, but creates at the same time a sort of mega egotism and egomania, where you start to forget that other people exist, and you have the solipsistic view that the world revolves around you and you alone, which is horrible. And then you see no extreme works. No extreme is the final answer to any of these issues about how a society should run. I don't know who said it, but everything in moderation, even moderation. Always. And I think that leads us down a better path ultimately when we come to realize that. It's just that when things are difficult, we look more and more, I think, for extreme answers to solve the problems that we have. And so when the Japanese were confronted with issues in their society, they saw that it was individualism that tore people apart. It was recognizing that you're a part of a group and you should care about each other and give up and forego some of that individuality to be more successful and in harmony with your environment. But then they forgot who they were along the way. Not all of them, that's dramatic. And just like us are bathing in our ego in the West, and you don't even need to be told. Just go on to Instagram and see the sort of ridiculous accounts that exists where I don't know how someone can go on Instagram, post majority pictures, selfies, and not think that they have some sort of neuroses that they need to address. Whose approval are you searching for that you have endless pictures of your face put in a public forum? Not even privately. You put this out to the world to look at your different angles of your 100 different faces that you put up, or to go on a rant. Actually, no, that's me just hating on feminists, but I won't do that. That's different. But yeah, egotism in the West, really bad, really, really bad. Could do with kind of recognizing how we are more a part of a whole and we would care about each other a lot more. But I thought that was kind of interesting, just to chat about that sort of hive, the Borg kind of thing in Japan, and how it is a good thing, but you definitely see how it's bad. I know a few Japanese people who definitely expressed to me their frustration with not being, or feeling like they won't be horrendously judged and made outcast for following something that isn't socially acceptable. So if you like videos like this, you like chats about culture, this, that, and the other thing, please do subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment. What's your experience in your culture to do with individuality or collectivism? What's your experience? Mine when I was very young is that everybody wanted to listen to rap. And I liked different music. It was not that I don't even think rap is bad. It's just that I wanted to listen to different music. It was like Symphony of Something was a song I named to the kid, and he was like, "You're an idiot. DMX every day." And I was like, I like DMX. I like other stuff. So I found that oppressive, that everybody wanted to listen to DMX when I was younger, and whatever else. Rap was just so popular when I was in school. What's your experience with that? What was the thing that you felt awkward where you're like, no, this is kind of what I want to do, but then I was made to feel outcast as a result of it? And what have you seen in other cultures, be it that side of it or the other side, the hyper egotism or the extreme collectivism where people lose their individuality? Some thoughts. All right, if you want to ask me a question, write down in the comments below, or write to me in my email. All my stuff is usually across the bottom here if you want to check out any of the social media. And thanks for checking out the video. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao for now. Peace.